Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we're going to be talking about quite a few new products from BYREDO. So I know everybody has sort of seen the Fetes Noires palette from BYREDO. This is a limited edition for the holidays. You've got the exclusive gunmetal packaging and you have smoky grays and blacks in here. But they also came out with some other new products at the same time and they didn't really announce them. So there are these eye Kajals, which as far as I know, they are new. This Chantecaille shade, which I'm not positive I'm pronouncing it correctly, but this one's limited edition. It's silver, and this came out for sure with the Fetes Noires palette. But they have three other shades as well, so I picked those up. They also have a new brow pencil, which I picked up, a new lipstick that I picked up, and they have a new lip liner, which I missed out on. So let's start off with swatching everything. So when we go through the demos, I kind of have some of the product details for these products then, but the eyeshadow, it's the nugget style packaging. Normally we have gold, but for the limited edition holiday Fetes Noires palette, we have a gunmetal. This has a 1-year shelf life, and these are made in Italy, and it's 8 grams. So we do have the mirror, it comes with a plastic tray. These are the shades. Now I have to say, I have all of the BYREDO Nugget palettes, and some of the formulas, you know, are creamier than others. My favorites would be the Metal Boots in the Snow and the Disco palette, I think. Oh, and Sciomancer. Those three all have a very creamy, unique consistency that is partially present in the others. This is the glitter, so I'm just gonna kind of pile that up. You can't really swipe that. So texturally, these are going to be drier than those ones with the creamy formula I just mentioned, like Disco, Metal Boots in the Snow, and Sciomancer. These are more of a traditional powder. This gray shade here in the middle is a little bit creamier, but it still doesn't have that same creamy texture that's present in those others. This glitter shade, I don't really like it. So there's a glitter in the Metal Boots in the Snow palette, and that one is a very creamy consistency. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that and show you. I mean, like, just look at that on my finger even. You can see how that compares. And that one's like, whatever the base is, it's like really easy to put on and apply and get like sparkle overload, and it pretty much stays put. This black one doesn't perform quite as well. And as a matter of fact, it reminds me more of this one here, which is in the Sciomancer palette. So let me just show you that. So, you know, they look nice if you get them on properly. I just find that these ones here, the Sciomancer and the Fetes Noires one, are just a little bit harder to put on because the formula itself is a little bit, it doesn't have as much like adhesive in it as the one in Metal Boots in the Snow. You can see color wise, this one's going to be deeper. There's more black in it in the Fetes Noires. The glitter chunks are actually of varying sizes. So it reminds me more of like one of those nail polishes with the flakies in it, where you can see like different sizes in there when you put it all over. Now we have this like matte black. You can see it's going to be a warmer tone black. You can build it up. It blends out fine. You know, no issues with the formula of these four at all. You can see that the next shade is a little bit of a cooler black, and there's a hint of sparkle in there. It's not super sparkly. It's really more of a matte shadow with some sparkle in it. Then the gray in the center is going to be a warmer, this is the lightest shade in here. So it's a warm gray, and it's going to be more of a satin formula. Then we're back to more of the matte with a sparkle, and we can see that this is going to be a little bit warmer in tone. It's a little bit, there's a touch more like brown in the base here compared to this shade, but they're pretty close. So in one of the demos, I have those side by side on my eyes. You can't really tell, you know, at least it's really hard to tell them apart. So I think that they are fairly close. So let's look at the other products, then we'll move to the demos. We'll come back and do some comparisons and some swatches. So for the eye kajals, these are made in the Czech Republic, and this one here, the Shandy shade, now it's an eye kajal, which you expect to be very creamy. It's actually going to be more of a drier, creamy texture. So it moves on nicely, but it really stays put. It's not going to be as creamy as some other eye kajals like the Sisley or Victoria Beckham, but it's not as dry as a regular eye pencil either. It's kind of in between those textures. So this is the silver. Then we have Cle, which is the black. And you can see, I mean, just going on, that this is really more of a pencil consistency. Like this one is not as creamy as the silver. It really feels a lot more like a traditional eye pencil. We have Bora Bora, which is the brown. And again, this is going to have that drier texture like the black. And these come in a little box like this with a sharpener, by the way. So they all come with their own sharpener. And then the last shade here is Nila, which is a navy. And again, this is gonna have the same formula as the brown and the black. So the silver is just slightly creamier than the other three. These three are permanent. The silver is limited edition. And then moving on to the brow pencil. This actually comes as this brow pencil where you've got the spoolie on one end, you have the retractable product on one end, and sorry, I got one of my hairs in there. This is going to be sand. That's the shade, and it's 01. And this is made in Japan. So this actually comes with a refill. You can see that it's actually pretty creamy for a brow pencil. It's not super creamy, but it's actually about as creamy as the silver Shandy pencil. And it goes on nicely. It's really easy to blur out. When you're putting it on your brows, it actually feels really creamy because it is, you know, it's not as stiff or dry as some other pencils in this same type of format, yet it's not soft and creamy enough that it's going to break off. It's kind of that happy medium. And it comes with a refill when you purchase this, and they already have refills already available, which is great because a lot of times you see these refillable products. Sometimes they come with the first refill, sometimes they don't, but a lot of times they don't actually sell the refill separately, and they already are doing that. Next up, we have the lipstick in Mad Red. And this is my first time trying one of the matte lipsticks from BYREDO. And you can see on my lips that even though it's matte, it's a satin matte. There is a touch of satin in that finish. It's creamy on the lips, not like super creamy, but it doesn't like dry down. You don't have that powder finish. So I'd say it has more of a satin matte finish on the lips. It's very comfortable. And this shade in particular, you can see that you have more of this blue base. So if you are somebody who has issues with the lipsticks always turning pink on you, this might be one of those, but I think it's a really beautiful shade. I'm very happy with this color, and I'm happy this is the first red I've tried with BYREDO. I'm enjoying it. So let's go ahead and move on to the demos. I have a few demos with all of these products, and then we're going to move back here for some comparisons and my thoughts. All right, so we are going to open Les Fetes Noires from BYREDO. So you just pull this through, and inside, canvas bag, just like all the other nuggets. This one though, limited edition, also has a limited edition color packaging. So this is the gunmetal. This is the typical packaging. So you can see the back is still going to be black plastic, but the front we've got gunmetal instead of the gold. And let's open this up. So we've got the mirror, plastic tray, which I never keep these. And then here's the actual palette. So let's just do a few little swatches first to kind of see how this is. So these are the first three. We're just gonna swatch this here on my hand. Let's start We're gonna put this here. I had some blush there, so I wanna make sure that doesn't interfere. So I can say right off the bat, just from swatching, that these are not as creamy as some of the other BYREDO palettes that I have. They're not dry per se. Well, I mean, like they're like dry like a powder, but they're not, these glitters never swatch well. But it's not as wet as a glitter, and these are not like creamy. They're more like a regular powder eyeshadow in texture so far. So we'll see how that goes on the eyes, but I'm quite curious to play with this. So I was wondering if the middle shade there would be light enough to really do kind of like a light look. I think in general, you're going to do something smoky with this regardless, but this is a palette that you could combine with other palettes to, you know, add a little depth and so forth as well. And let's go ahead and get started. I have the Chantecaille eye base on in light, and we are going to start with the black. So we're going to start with the matte black with the mini booster from Sonia G. I'm just going to get a little powder on here, tapping off any excess, and I'm just going to do kind of like a little V here at the outer corner. I think what we're gonna do, let's do like a gradation. We'll put the lightest towards the inner part of the eye, and let's go next with this shade, which is the fourth one here. So I'm gonna use the same brush. I'm just gonna knock off any excess on my cloth. We're just gonna put this right here next to it. You can see that this has some shimmer here. So one of the reasons I wanted to try this like gradation is because I want to see when you put these shadows right next to each other, how different do they actually look on the eye? Because they are pretty similar in the swatches. You can see this one's a little bit more black versus like more charcoal, which is what it looks like in the pan as well. Oh, I see. I used the wrong ones. So this is not really a gradation. I should have been looking. All right, and then we're gonna go into this lightest shade here. This one is the creamiest of them, but it's still not creamy like some of the other BYREDO palettes. I'm gonna take the Sonia G Crease Pro. I'm gonna dip a little bit into the lighter gray here. Just so you can see there's not a lot of product there. I'm going to put this in the crease and kind of blend some of the other shades that are reaching up there. Just going back with the mini blender and just kind of feathering this transition area a little bit more. I have to say, looking at them like this, really, there's not that much of a difference on the eye with these different shades, for me at least. You know, I think most of the time using this palette, I'll pick maybe like 1 or 2 shades from here. And just since we're playing, let's go ahead and try out the glitter. So let's put this on here. So this glitter, you can see it's like varying chunk sizes. It actually reminds me more of some of those like flaky nail polishes. That's kind of what it makes me think of. I don't love the glitter. All right, so here's this. Honestly, like, this look just isn't that great. I'm gonna take this off and we're gonna do something else. But first, here's the look from a distance. And if I were to continue with this, you know, I would line under the eye and maybe even do like a cat eye type thing. But, you know, I think I want to go with something a little different. Okay, so I removed the shadow. I have to say that sometimes when you're removing black shadow, it can make quite a mess if you're trying not to get it all over your face. That really wasn't the case, you know? I think it actually came off very cleanly without making a huge mess everywhere. and it was easy to get off. So I like that. So we're gonna go ahead and I think let's play with these two shades right now. We're going to use this one kind of, well, you know what? Let's just do these two side by side and then let's play with one of the new eye calls. So I'm taking the Sonia G Soft Shader and we're gonna start in this darker gray shade. Again, I do have the Chantecaille eye base on. Oh, and looking in the mirror a little closer, I can see that I do have a little bit of black powder there from before. So I really like this shade with a little hint of sparkle. Like I could totally just kind of use this all over. I mean, you'd get a deep shade, but it's, I think you can like kind of buff that one out nicely. All right, and then we're gonna go into the middle shade here and yeah, we're just gonna put this on the rest of the lid here. Now you can see from application that this one is creamier, just the way that it applies, you can tell. So I'm actually gonna dip into the Metal Boots in the Snow palette. I'm gonna go into this silver shade and I'm using the Crease Pro from Sonia G. Just gonna get a little bit on here and I'm gonna use this in the crease. So this is still pretty dark. Let's go through the pencil. This is the limited edition eye kohl. This is a crayon kajal. And inside you have a sharpener. Nice BYREDO sharpener. And then this is the eye kohl. And just for size reference, here's a Jones Road face stick. So the Jones Road face stick, they're about the same diameter. I can't tell if they're 100% exactly the same diameter, but if not, very, very close. And you can see size-wise, the BYREDO is a little bit, it's hard to say it's a little shorter since it's so much pointier, but the Jones Road is going to be, the Jones Road is 2.9 grams and the BYREDO is 2.4 grams. So just a size comparison there. So with this, we're going to put this along the lash line. Let's see how this goes. So there we go. You can see that it's creamy. It's not like super soft and creamy. Like, for example, the Victoria Beckham eye kajals, I feel like those are a little bit creamier than this, but it's definitely creamier than like a regular eye pencil. So let's take the Sonia G Smudger 2 and let's just see how some of this moves. Just going to kind of drag that out a little bit. To say it's creamy enough to still move even though it's been on for a little bit. And I'm just gonna smudge a little bit of that closer into my lash line. I really like this eye kajal. I think that is really cool. You know what? Let's go ahead and do silver around the eyes. Okay, so I put a little bit of it on the waterline here, which is not something that I typically do, but I just wanted to kind of test it. So we're just gonna bring this up to meet that here. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of this to the inner corner here and just connect the whole thing. All right, so here's this. Kind of a different look for me. I am going to show you this from a distance. All right, so I didn't finish my makeup, but here is the eye look from a distance. And I'm going to test out the eye kajal and the wear today, and we'll just see how this goes. All right, so I have the Vizier eye primer on. I'm actually gonna go into the Corporate Colors palette. I'm gonna go into this ivory shade, and this is the Esom brush in V34. It's a synthetic brush. I really like the V series from Esom. So I'm putting this in the crease and working up, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this kind of halfway down the lid as well. Just kind of haphazardly. Get a little bit in the crease and so forth. This is going to help me dilute the color a little bit so I can get a lighter look today. And then I'm going to take the Sonia G Pencil Pro, and we're back into the Fetes Noires. I'm going to go into this shade right next to the glitter. It's kind of like more of the medium gray with a little bit of sparkle. And I'm going to take this and I am putting this along the lash line. And after I pick up the product, I just dab it a little bit on my cloth to kind of knock off any excess. You can see a little bit of that shimmer. There's just a touch of it there. So I'm going to leave it like this. And then I'm going to take the Sonia G Pencil 2, which is clean. And I'm just going to kind of smudge this out. Spread it out a little bit and work it up the lid. So I'm going to go back in with the Pencil Pro into the middle shade here. And I'm just going to put this kind of right above where I had the block of gray. And then I'm going to do the same thing and kind of just use the Pencil 2 here to smudge that up a little bit higher. So the tones of this gray, this one's a little bit warmer. It's also a little bit lighter. And it's a different finish. It's more satin. So just gonna get that up to the crease. Okay, I'm going back in with the Pencil Pro. I'm just gonna get a little bit more of this deeper black here and just get a little bit more of that right along the lash line. And just putting what's left there in the outer corner. So I'm just taking the same crease brush I used before, and I don't have any additional product or anything on here. And I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. And then for the upper lash line, I'm taking the eye kohl in Chandi. And I'm going to put a little bit of this right here in the inner corner as well. And for the lower lash line, I'm just going to go ahead and take the middle gray with the Esom T05. So I'm just going to get a little product on here, tap off any excess, and I'm just edging because I don't want a ton of dark shadow down here. And this brush, the Pencil Pro, it has been wiped off. I'm just going to smudge anything that's kind of still there a little bit lower. And then I'm going to do the waterline with the Chandi pencil. So that's my look for today. I'm going to add some mascara and everything in a minute. But first, let's move into the new lipstick I picked up. So there's a new shade that was released with all of these. And I haven't really seen people talk about this, but it's called Mad Red. I've been wanting to try one of BYREDO's reds. So I decided to go ahead and pick this up. And let's try it on. So here's Mad Red. Now I do need to clean this up, put on some lip liner and everything as well. BYREDO came out with a lip liner also. It's a universal clear lip liner. Unfortunately, I missed it. I was too late by the time I saw it. So that's sold out, or at least it was when I ordered. But yeah, it's lipstick. You know, we'll talk about this in my thoughts. And this is the final look from a distance. So I added the Kierwas I'm Possible or Impossible mascara. The blush is a mix of the Chantecaille Cheek Chalet and Vibrant with the Tom Ford Brazen Rose Powder Duo on top mixed together. And then for highlight, I have the Givenchy Holiday Highlighter in Organza Ore. And I have the BYREDO brow pencil on, and then lip liners. I actually started using the Hermes Universal Lip Liner because I wanted to see how that would perform. I figured it would be pretty similar in how it works with a red lipstick as to the BYREDO one that I missed out on. And I don't really like using that after the fact because really anywhere the lip liner and the lipstick overlap, it brings out more of the pink tones of the lipstick, the undertones that are in there. And so it like lightens it. And I just didn't like that. So I actually ended up going over it with my favorite red lip liner, which is from Chanel. It's the Brun Carmen. And I put that around the edges. And that's it. All right, while we are testing out the eye kajal and the eyeshadow and everything, I thought we could also test out the new eyebrow pencil. So this is a refillable pencil, and it actually comes with a refill, I believe. And they actually already have the refill separately. So let's see, I'm not sure if it's already, yeah. So you do get one refill, so it's already in here. Wasn't quite sure the way it was worded, but yes, so you get the actual pencil and you've got a spoolie on one end. This is the pencil. And I have shade 01. And this is made in Japan, by the way. The eye kajal was made in the Czech Republic, and the eyeshadows are made in Italy. So I like to hold these so that the point is down, so it's kind of like the hair coming out, and just kind of like do a little flick. So what I can say about this pencil so far is that it does have kind of a creamy texture going on. When you swatch on your hand, it doesn't feel like super creamy or anything. It feels a lot like a regular, you know, brow pencil. But when I'm putting it on, it actually feels creamier on the skin than a lot of others I've used. So you know how sometimes these pencils, they can feel a little harsh, a little sharp on you. This didn't. So we'll see how this holds up. But I will test this out today and we'll see. And this is the final look from a distance. So I hope that was helpful. We're going to start off with some comparisons for the eyeshadow. This is the Chanel Modern Glamour, and you can see that this is different right off the bat because you've got some lighter shades in here. But let's see how this compares. I don't have a palette that is really like all black. You can see how much softer the grays are in Modern Glamour. This is closest to the matte black, but it's a little bit less intense, but you can see they're pretty much the same shade. And then this one here, this first shade in Modern Glamour, that's this one here. There's a hint of like a greenish vibe in there. That's gonna be closest to this middle shade here, which again is not gonna be quite as intense, and it doesn't have quite the same finish there. So overall, you've got a more subdued color story, especially because of the white shade in there. Moving on, we have Dior Black Bow. We're just going to swatch these three on the bottom. Now, this silver is not going to be in there, but just want to show you how the different color stories kind of work. And I have to say that, you know, these feel very creamy. So when you're looking at Black Bow, this matte black kind of matches up the most. It's actually more in between these in tone, but it doesn't have the sparkle. The other shades, they don't quite go. This one is the deepest one with the sparkle, and it's just not quite as pigmented as those others. But then I also wanted to look at Dior Black Night. So this was the holiday one from last year. We're just gonna look at the two deepest shades, the sparkly black and the matte black. And these here, you can see that the matte black is going to be a deeper, cooler tone black than the BYREDO. And this one here is the one with the sparkle. You can see it actually is more of a satin shimmer compared to these, which are more matte with the sparkle. But tone-wise, it's kind of like a slightly deeper version of this one here, the one right next to the glitter shade. All right, so let's look at some of the liners. Let's start with the silver comparisons. This is the Jones Road pencil in silver. And consistency-wise, this is going to be pretty similar. This is Chantecaille and Jones Road. You can see that they are pretty close in coloration. I would say that the Jones Road is just slightly brighter, like it's a little bit more of a brighter silver, whereas this has like a touch more gray in it. Consistency-wise, these are pretty similar. This is slightly drier, but the consistency of this is like these other three here. So that's that one. And then the Victoria Beckham in Sea Gray. Let's put that right here. You can see that that's really going to be much more of a pewter gray with a bunch of shimmer. So that's going to be it for my silver comparisons. And then a couple of the blue ones. This is the Chanel Stylo Ya in number 30, Marine, which you can see is going to be more subdued. And there's a little bit more gray in it. It's also going to be slightly creamier in formulation. And then we have I think this is just called Navy. Yeah, Navy Noir from Victoria Beckham. This is an eye kajal. This is much creamier than this. However, if you're looking for something to last on the waterline and so forth, the BYREDO does a much better job. So you can see the difference here that this is going to be a little bit of a lighter, brighter blue compared to the Victoria Beckham. I think they're all great, just different purposes. So I'm not going to compare the brown and the black. You can kind of see already that the brown is a pretty neutral brown and the black is a pretty neutral black. So there's a little bit of a grayish hint in that black. So I wouldn't say it's the blackest black. As for the brow pencil, I'll just compare these shades here. This is the Gucci in Taupe. Just see if you're looking at this, you can see the shade differences. So this is Taupe versus the BYREDO. And then this one here is number 3, Châtain, which is going to be even deeper. Let's do a few lipstick comparisons. This is the Givenchy Le Rouge Deep Velvet in 37, Rouge Grenade, which you can see is going to be warmer in tone than the Mad Red. This is the Dior Velvet in 999, which again is also going to be warmer, a little bit more orangey. And let's look at a few more. This is Chanel's Rouge Allure in 847 Rouge Majesté. So this is actually my closest match. You can see that there is a difference. The Chanel is going to be warmer in tone, but it also has a bit of that pink. Now this is a satin formula, so you've got like a sheen to it as well. This is Guerlain's Velvet in 910. This is the black red. You can see how much warmer that is going to be. And last up, this is Chanel's Rouge Allure Velvet in 137 or 136 Pivot Noir. And you can see again, that one's gonna be warmer as well. I went through, I thought for sure I had to have a red that's like closer, but really I don't. So the closest is this Chanel Rouge Allure in 847 Rouge Majesté, which came out for a holiday a couple of years ago. All right, so those are all of my comparisons. As for my thoughts on this palette, I absolutely love BYREDO Nugget palettes. I think the formula on this one is okay. I prefer, one of the reasons I really love these nuggets or oyster palettes is because I love that creamy, unique texture that is present in so many of them. And I love the shades. I feel like that's kind of lacking in this palette. This is really more of an ordinary texture in this palette. And I feel like the colors are all really close to each other. I'm not somebody who does a lot of smoky eyes. I have a hard time working with shades that are this deep and pigmented, especially when they're all very close to each other and there's nothing in the palette to really brighten it up. One of the reasons I love the Chanel Modern Glamour palette is because it has that white there that kind of helps brighten things up, and you can mix and blend it and get different depths. And I feel like BYREDO, I would have preferred to have something like that in place of this glitter. I actually really love the glitter in the Metal Boots palette. And I feel like if this one had that same consistency, it wasn't as dry as it is, then it would perform better in this palette. You could get this really cool space eye, but I just don't think this one, you know, it's just not as easy to work with. So can you still use it and get a fantastic look? Yes, you can. But is it as easy to use as the Metal Boots? No, it's not. And that's the issue. I feel like to really get it to work well, I'm going to need to use like another base or a liquid with that, like some glitter glue or something, to really help that adhere and get the consistency that I want from that product. As for the other 4 shades, you know, they're all fine. They're nice shades. The formula is great on them, no issues, but they're just not unique. So there's, I mean, this middle shade is the creamiest, but it's still not as creamy as some of the other palettes. So I think they're okay. You know, it's a nice palette. It's just, I was expecting something more special from BYREDO, to be honest, and it didn't live up to my expectations. So I think it's a nice palette, you know, but honestly, I wouldn't pick this one up again, partly because it is too deep for me to use every day, which, you know, I knew going in there, but really it's more about the lack of uniqueness to the formula of these shadows. I really wanted the formulas to be more like some of the others, and these are just more ordinary, and that's just not what I go to BYREDO for. Now, as for the brow pencil though, I've been testing that out and I really like it. It works well, it fills things in, it doesn't fade throughout the day. If you make a mistake, it's easy to remove. You know, I love the fact that it comes with a refill, and I like the texture of it. You know, it's creamy yet firm. I think it's a really great pencil. The eye Kajals, I love these Kajals. So if you are looking for something that lasts on the waterline and isn't like dry and powdery feeling, this is it. These lasted on my waterline, I mean, over 11 hours. So I think they're fantastic. And when I say they lasted, like I didn't even notice it being less pigmented. I mean, particularly with the silver, you can really tell with the silver because it is so bright. It didn't seem to fade or anything. So I'm really, really impressed with the eye Kajals. I really enjoy them. Now, when I hear Kajal, I was expecting something as creamy as the Victoria Beckham, and it's not. But I think that's also what makes it work a bit better in those areas. Now, I don't typically put things on my waterline. I think the silver one is great for that though, because it really is brightening. It's very festive. But overall, I really like these pencils, and you know, they're creamy enough that you can smudge these out and do a look with them. I'm glad that the sharpener is there. So the eye Kajals, total win. Brow pencil, total win. Lipstick, I'm also really enjoying this lipstick. You know, I think it's very comfortable. It's matte, but it has a little bit more of a satin matte finish, as I mentioned before. The color is actually surprisingly more unique to my collection than I would have expected. And, you know, I think it's pretty nice. I got lipstick on my teeth. But overall, I think it is a really nice formula. It's my first foray into the BYREDO mattes. Do I prefer the mattes over the satins? I prefer the satins personally, but I almost always prefer satins over mattes. I have to say though that this one is really comfortable and doesn't feel like a matte on the lips. So I would definitely buy more of these, and I'm very happy with it. And I love the color, how you can put this on lightly and get more of like a pink, or you can build it up and get more of this like depth. It's like looking at a red rose petal where you have like that really velvety part where the light hits it and you have that deeper red shade versus where it fades out. Like these are true red rose petal lips. So I'm very happy with this. So overall, I would have to say that the entire purchase was solid. I'm very happy with everything here, even though I don't love the BYREDO palette as much as I love some of the other ones. I'm still happy to have it, but unless you are looking for something very deep with varying shades of black, essentially, you know, I would recommend other similar color stories over it, because for $70 to not get that unique formula, it's just not really worth it for me personally. So that's my opinion on those, but everything else, you know, total love. So I hope this was helpful. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, and if you picked up any of these items. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you very soon. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.